Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be making a sourdough brioche bread. This sourdough recipe is actually from Autumn's Kitchen that I found on TikTok. And this recipe is so delicious, so I wanted to share with all of you guys. That way, if you guys don't have TikTok or haven't come across her page yet, you guys can try one of her best recipes in my opinion. I will link her TikTok down below, but let's get started with the recipe. So we're going to start by doing our sweet stiff starter. So we're going to add 50 grams of our starter into a jar, and we're going to add 70 grams of water, 25 grams of honey. You can also use sugar instead, but I prefer to use honey. I just feel like it neutralizes that sour taste a bit more than the sugar, and it also stays at peak a little bit longer. I do like to mix the honey, the water, and the starter first before adding my flour, but I add 150 grams of flour, and then we're going to mix everything together. This starter will be a little bit harder to mix because there's less water. It's not equal parts, hence the name stiff starter. This starter will actually help cancel out some of that sour taste since we are adding a little bit of honey, and I feel like it just makes the brioche bread taste so much better. You can actually take out this starter and knead it by hand if it's easier for you. I just don't like to get my hands all dirty, but you can go ahead and do that. I also decided to put the starter into a bigger jar because I knew that this starter would explode. I did mix this at 9 o'clock at night and it did peak in the morning. I did mix my dough at around 9, so just keep that in mind. This would be a great schedule if you would like to make the brioche bread the next day. So the next morning I am ready to mix my dough together. We are going to put everything in a bowl. We are going to have the stand mixer do our hard work. So we're going to start off by adding all of our stiff starter. We're going to put the whole thing in there, and then we're going to add 70 grams of brown sugar, 8 grams of salt, 100 grams of milk, 3 eggs, and 400 grams of bread flour. We're going to have the stand mixer mix everything together until there are no more pockets of flour left over. And then we're going to add 140 grams of unsalted room temperature butter. We're going to add it little by little in little increments until the dough is fully incorporated with the butter. We're going to have the stand mixer mix everything together for 10 to 15 minutes until it is pulling away from the sides. Once the dough is ready, you're going to transfer it into a clean bowl. You are going to do the window pane test to make sure that your dough is strong enough, and I will show you here what that looks like. You basically just pull the dough, make sure that it doesn't rip when you pull it, and you can see kind of through it. I like to roll the dough into a ball just so I can get a better visual of the growth of the dough. If I leave it just as it fell from the other bowl, I just can't tell. So I like to make it look nice and pretty, and then I just cover it in a plastic wrap and let it double in size. This took about 5 hours for me. Once it was ready, I weighed the dough and I split it into 6 equal pieces. You can make 2 loaves out of this recipe, or you can make it into like one big one. But I do have a small and short loaf pan, so I decided to do 2 loaves instead of one. So you go ahead and measure the dough out, split it into 6 equal parts. Then you're going to roll it into a ball. So you're going to have 6 little balls, and you're going to let the dough rest for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then you're going to start to flatten it out into like a long rectangle with your rolling pin. You do want to use a little bit of flour here to make sure that the dough doesn't stick to anything. So here you see me trying to make a long rectangle. We're going to make the rectangle as best as we can, and then we're going to roll the dough into like a long taco, a little taquito, like a flauta type of vibe. This is going to help us create those beautiful layers within the bread that makes it so soft and just pillowy. So you're gonna see here how I just roll it back. You're gonna do this with all of your dough, and then you're gonna let it rest for a little bit. But here I'm gonna slow it down for you guys. I already kind of rolled it out into a long rectangle, and then you're just gonna fold it backwards into itself. Make a taquito. It doesn't have to be perfect. I truly apologize for the staticky noise in the background. For some reason, my laptop just likes to not overheat, but I don't know, it gets too warm or something and it just lets out some air. I don't know. And I try to connect my microphone to my laptop and I can't do it. So I truly, truly apologize. But, anyways, so here you just see me that I finished doing all the little taquitos. We're going to let the dough rest for about 15 to 20 minutes and then we're going to start to flatten it out again. So we're not going to make a super like wide rectangle. You're just going to flatten it out from the top and the bottom, kind of like a skinny rectangle in a way. You're just going to do the same thing we did previously, just flatten it out and you're going to roll it back into itself. And then we're going to put it into our loaf pan. If you have a bigger or wider, taller loaf pan, you could definitely just make these into 6 balls instead of doing all of this. You could do 6 balls and just put them right next to each other, let it proof up, and then you're gonna have a beautiful brioche bread that has like 6 little, sections to it and you can pull apart. But since I do have a small loaf pan, I just did 3 of these dough pieces per loaf pan, and I think it came out beautiful, and it's a great way to just have 2 loaves instead of just one. So now that we're done with all of the dough, I put it in the loaf pan and this is what it looks like. I did put butter on the sides of my loaf pan just to make sure that it didn't stick. And after 3 hours, this is what it looked like. I think it could have gone a little bit longer, but my family was very anxious and excited to eat this loaf. So I just went ahead and did a little egg wash on top. I did preheat my oven to 350 degrees and I did put another baking dish on the bottom and I did boil water to create some steam at the bottom of the loaf, and I baked for about 35 minutes and this is what it looks like. It came out so beautiful. The color is amazing. It's so soft and this is what it looks like. When you pull it apart, it's just so soft and it has all these beautiful layers. So I hope you guys try this recipe out because it is so, so good. Just look at how soft this bread is. Look at the little layers. Oh my gosh, it makes me want to make it all over again. And it only took me one actual day. You can make this and impress anyone who comes over. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and I will see you guys in my next one.